Ladies and gentlemen, greeting you in behalf on the Hun TV. Our guest today is Professor István Horváth, who is an inventor. One of his most important inventions of the world is the clearing of the arteries. Would you please describe the most important aspect of these inventions?
First of all, let me welcome our watchers. It is a pleasure for me to be here to speak about the immunization against arteriosclerosis. It is not a new theory. It is well known everywhere in the world, and many publications care with this problem. But only in Hungary we are able to make immunization in human. American colleagues made many research work on this field and published a lot of information, but they were not successful in the immunization, even not with a closer animal to human, because the pigs were killed by anaphylactic shock by their vaccine. Our vaccine, when we checked it on pigs, it was successful, and after this experiment, we control it on human too. So that the historical fact
It was successful too.
that it was successful in human too. The first human was made, injected, immunized by, for the aim to produce anti-cholesterol antibody in Hungary, and it was a self-control in human.
Mm-hmm.
I was made it on me. So after this step, we started to open it for the other people to make immunization. To understand the importance of this immunization, we have to see how the science, how the physicians were thinking about the arteriosclerosis. Just about 50 years ago, it was well known that there is some connection between the cholesterol level of the blood and the arteriosclerosis. At the beginning, it was believed that the cholesterol of the blood depends on the food, the cholesterol containing of the food. So refuse all the food which was containing cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when they were not able to produce any result by the food reduction which was containing cholesterol, they made a new theory. This theory was an infectious problem. They declared that the arteriosclerosis was forced by the chlamydia infection. The chlamydia theory was during 20 years, from 1980s to 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was making research work on chlamydia. And in 2000, a German professor, Koenig, declared, I know that the chlamydias are causing the arteriosclerosis. And after that period of time, became a new idea, new theory, that the arteriosclerosis is produced by the high level of cholesterol in the blood. Only one problem was with it. Even it has a very high correlation, more than 80% correlation between the high cholesterol level and the arteriosclerosis. But many people who had high cholesterol level was living without any problem of arteriosclerosis.
Mm.
But were many people who had low cholesterol level and had arteriosclerosis. So certainly all the theory had a practical solution in the field of the therapy of arteriosclerosis. At the beginning, as I mentioned, they started to produce a sufficient diet for the people. Don't eat cholesterol containing. When it was not successful, this theory, there was an antibiotics treatment of arteriosclerosis, treatment for the chlamydia, and
without success.
Without success. And nowadays there is a treatment to reduce the cholesterol level. Certainly the cholesterol reduction is not so simple, because the cholesterol is a molecule in our body which doesn't have any enzyme which would be able to digest this molecule. And it means these drugs using for the cholesterol reduction in the blood can really influence the cholesterol level only one way, to stop the cholesterol synthesis. So we can say that it is a enzyme destroyer, all the drug we are using for the cholesterol reduction in the blood.
So it is true that the same of the medication used to clear the arteries damage the liver?
You see, when we speak about the damage of the enzymes, in this situation we have to mention all the places where the enzymes which influence our body, our life, are destroyed, destroy even the organs, even the cells which are producing the enzymes. And among them is one of the most important, the liver. And this drug really produces a very good laboratory results, but doesn't reduce the plaques, which are dangerous for our body, which are dangerous for the organs, which doesn't have any good blood supplies. It means the cholesterol is not dangerous molecule, one of the most important molecule in our body, and that is the reason it is not true that we have to destroy the cholesterol. We have a new theory against this high cholesterol level causing arteriosclerosis, that not the high cholesterol, but the not utilized cholesterol make the problem for us in the arteriosclerosis. And if we can utilize the cholesterol which our body is producing, so it's not from the food, not from the environment, but only our body produces the cholesterol. And the cholesterol production depends on the feedback mechanism. And the feedback mechanism is asking, produce cholesterol. And when our body is producing cholesterol, it is not possible to put into the blood, because our blood is a basically water, basic material, fluid. And it is not possible to put direct the cholesterol. So on the basis of it, I have to say some shocking informations. Because nowadays we are speaking about the cholesterol level of the blood. And I can declare there is no native cholesterol in the blood. No cholesterol in the blood solubilized. No good and bad cholesterol. There's only one type of cholesterol. All cholesterol is the same. And the other, no cholesterol adherent to the surface of the vessels, the blood vessels. And on the basis of it, I have to declare that not the high cholesterol level made a problem for us with producing arteriosclerosis. And the cholesterol is not a bad molecule in our body, in our organism. Even it is one of the best.
Yes.
Why the best? It's very difficult to say. Proteins, fats, cholesterol, and so on, sugars are the most important. It's not necessary, because if you isolate only one of them, the other certainly necessary to declare it. But all the organisms, even from the bacteria to human, on the development, we are not able to find any living organism which are able to produce an enzymes which able to digest the cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
So the cholesterol, when it is ready, when our body is produced for the squalene molecule by the enzymes, it is not touchable, like the diamond. So it is very, very important for us, because without cholesterol is not possible to imagine the life. It is necessary many, many points of our organism. What is this cholesterol? So many times you have cholesterol, certainly. Who doesn't have cholesterol doesn't have life.
Mm-hmm.
So the cholesterol is a big molecule with 4 rings and some tails. And these big molecule has certain steric isomers. About 256 steric isomers we can produce from the cholesterol. Even more, because it is a chiralic molecule. So it has the mirror form.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 256, and we have another side, 256, as we have only 5 fingers, but 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 10 fingers, 10 different fingers we have. And the cholesterol has also 512 different steric isomers.
Mm-hmm.
And only one of them is existing in our body. And this cholesterol is not antigen. It is not solubilized in water.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the reason I can say no cholesterol in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
We can find only certain structure, molecular structure, in some protein and fats, lipoprotein, so-called lipoprotein, which is partly lipoid, partly protein. This structure, particles, it contains cholesterol, but the small particle, what we call good cholesterol, so-called good cholesterol, it is not cholesterol. It contains only 5%.
From the all lipoprotein molecules.
It is not molecule, it's a particle. It is much bigger than molecule. Much bigger than molecule, that it contains only 5%.
Mm-hmm.
So 95% of this particle is other.
Yes.
We don't speak about what is it, but only 5% cholesterol. We say good cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
It's good because directly can utilize all the cells of our body this type of lipoproteins. That is the reason we say good cholesterol. But the other, the bad cholesterol, it is also not cholesterol. It is also lipoprotein. Low density lipoprotein.
Mm-hmm.
High density lipoprotein is a good. Bad cholesterol, called particle, is a low density lipoprotein.
Mm-hmm.
It contains also about 10% of cholesterol. So 90% or 95% of it also not cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
But the cholesterol can circulate only in this structure. That is the reason we say no cholesterol is solubilized in the blood. Only in the form of lipoprotein or other structure which is solubilized. The protein necessary for it to circulate in our body. So I mentioned it is not digestible. So it is not true that the cholesterol can produce a lot of energy for our body. Not. Cholesterol is not. Cholesterol can be substituted by the cells, by the molecule, can produce other, even bigger molecule. Mm-hmm. From this cholesterol produced our body the bile acid.
the sexual hormone, the mineralocorticotropic hormone, and directly use the cholesterol for the receptor stabilization, which is necessary to have a good connection between the neurocells. That is the reason our brain has containing about 50% all the dry material. A lot of cholesterol is there. And these cholesterol very important. Many reason, many part in our biological life. So this cholesterol, which is in our body, it is not antigen. It's funny, because it is not antigen in our body. We supposed that there is no any antigen reaction. That was the reason that only at the end of the 20th century, the anti-cholesterol antibody was discovered. Because everyone was thinking, even I was teaching that cholesterol is not antigen. Cholesterol is just an additional material, it is a complementing material together with other antigens and help to make more sensitive the reaction when we were using the cholesterol, especially in the diagnosis of different diseases. And I was also surprised when the first time I find in the last century, in the 80s, that the cholesterol was reacting with antibody, was reacting in human sera. The purified cholesterol was able to have an antigen phase. And when we find this anti-cholesterol antibody, we were able to demonstrate it. Not only some people, but everybody has it. On different level of anti-cholesterol antibody we have, not the human, the animal also has it. And when during these studies we were able to establish that it is necessary for the cholesterol metabolism. So the cholesterol metabolism is not going well without anti-cholesterol antibody. And now I can turn back to the question of the lipoproteins, which is really bringing the cholesterol on their back. This cholesterol is the HDL, what we call good cholesterol in the world, and the other, the LDL, the bad cholesterol. The structure of these particular is that the 5% of the cholesterol in HDL is inside of this particular. The surface is made from protein.
You have any picture about it?
Yes, I have a picture here.
Which number from the picture?
The number is 6. This in HDL cholesterol is a good cholesterol. The surface is made from protein, and the LDL, low density lipoprotein, the surface has some 100 of cholesterol molecules.
We can see it on the picture.
It is not possible, you can see it in the picture.
Yes.
And the anti-cholesterol antibody can cover these cholesterol molecules, and it's totally covered. So when enough anti-cholesterol antibody we have, they cover it, and the surface became protein also. This protein covered LDL particular can utilized by the cells. And when the production is going on, 2 parts of LDL, 1 part of HDL was produced by the cholesterol producing cells. And if this ration is going on, it means that our organism produce enough anti-cholesterol antibody, enough to cover cover the surface cholesterol molecules of the LDL, and the ration stay 2:1. And if it is not enough the anti-cholesterol antibody. In this case, more and more LDL will be in comparison to the HDL. And it doesn't matter if somebody has a high cholesterol level or a low cholesterol level, as a physiological level for him, can change this ration. If the ration of LDL and HDL became more than 2, 3, 4, even 5, 5 times more LDL than HDL, it is a good information for us that something is wrong with the cholesterol metabolism. And if we can influence it with the forcing of the anti-cholesterol antibody product production, we can change these. We can lowering the level of LDL and producing higher level of HDL, and the cholesterol utilization will be good again in our body. If the anti-cholesterol antibody is enough, it starts to take out from the so-called plaques, from the vessels, from the wall of the vessels, because it is not a surface material, it is atheromas. Atheromas means fat cells, fat-containing cells. So it is not on the surface, but it is inside of the cells, atheromas.
It's going in the cells, in the muscle cells.
In the cells of the muscles, yes, muscles of the which producing the wall of the vessels, of the arteries vessels. And when it is big enough, so they are able to close the road of the blood. And if the blood is not enough for an organ, it's not producing well, especially if it's closing the...
And you became an infarct?
Closing the vessels of the heart, there is a heart infarct or brain infarct, or it can close the pancreas, the arteria pancreatica. In this case, it's not produced. It will be diabetes. Yeah, not producing any more insulin, and the insulin is lower. In this case, became a diabetes. So it's a great problem. How can we solve all the question, all the problem which is...
The next pictures?
Yes, I have some more pictures. So what is causing the arteriosclerosis? We mentioned that in the history previously was causing by the food, by the chlamydias, by the high cholesterol level, and now we mentioned is none of them. We can declare that the undermined cholesterol metabolism is causing the arteriosclerosis. The disorders is developing on the basis of anti-cholesterol antibody shortage. If it is not enough, this antibody produce arteria. So it means it is a immunoglobulin production. It is a protein production problem. And the anti-cholesterol antibody is an immunoglobulin. So it means it is an immunological problem. If it is an immunological problem, with immunological method, it can be solved, this problem. And what is producing this immunological problem, this protein synthesis problem? Certainly, it came from many
cases,
many directions, and many things, many environmental influence can provocate the metabolism disorders. Among them is the first place the stress. Beside the stress, the smoking and the other poisons, like the car produced environmental pollutions, and the moving less life. our body was prepared, our body was developed on the basis of always moving. When our fathers, grandfathers wanted to eat meat, they were running after the rabbit. If they wanted to keep himself, they were running in front of the wolves. So always was moving. And the other thing, what we mentioned, that producing cholesterol problem is generally are consequence of this destroyed cholesterol metabolism. Among them, I have to mention the high LDL level, low HDL level, high triglyceride. So they are not causing, but they are also a consequence of these cholesterol disorders. I have to mention among them the influence factors, the infections, because in experiment we were able to demonstrate that the endotoxin of the bacteria also a very, very important forcing factor for the arteriosclerosis. And if we mention it, I have to emphasize that anaerobic bacteria. The anaerobic bacteria can produce different diseases and also can produce big disorders in our mouth. Our teeth generally are killed by the anaerobic bacteria because the anaerobic bacteria is going making a hole on our teeth. So if we would be able to kill this bacteria for our mouth, we will be able to protect our teeth. Unfortunately,
are able to go directly to veins from the mouth?
Not to the veins, but when they are dry in our mouth, the mucous membrane of our teeth can pick up the endotoxins, and there is no detoxification because the bile acid can detoxicate in our intestinal tract these endotoxins, but not in the mouth. They directly utilized, and these endotoxin can destroy, and parallel with it destroy our teeth. So that is the reason that there is a high correlation between the bad teeth and the arteriosclerosis. And now we can demonstrate the bacteria of the teeth. Even among them is existing a lot of small bacteria, which is so small that is not possible to see by microscope. It is not cultivable in artificial medium and not paintable. So it's very difficult to demonstrate them. Only the ultra microscope, so-called dark field microscope, is good for this. The ultra microscope is a relatively cheap instrument, but to use it have to have a good practice. I remember our physicians always afraid to use it because if it is not punctually used, punctually prepared, it is not possible to see anything. So everything is just dark. But on this darkness, just like the stars, appear as very, very small bacteria, which is not visible in the normal light microscopes. So many environmental, even inside environment influence can force the production of arteriosclerosis. To know something about the anti-cholesterol antibody, we have to mention that the study was made a lot of in America. I have to mention the name of Professor Alvings and his group in Washington, D.C., in the Walter Reed Military Hospital, where they made a lot of experiments, a lot of examinations. They were able to demonstrate that we have anti-cholesterol antibody in different class of of immunoglobulins. So they established that anti-cholesterol antibody can be IgG, IgM, even IgA, and IgE. So certainly everybody had IgM and IgG, IgA, a lot of people, and even they were able to find IgA type of anti-cholesterol antibody. And it is very interesting that these antibody is
Next picture.
it has a
We can show the next picture. Picture number.
no, later. A picture will be later. Just the next slide is going on. Tehát csak a következő lemezre megyünk át, és mindjárt mutatok képeket is. Még az odébb van, még kettővel hátrább, jó? So to see the nature of this antibody, they were able to establish that the anti-cholesterol antibody is joined to the LDL particle, but never to the HDL. So it means the good cholesterol never absorb the anti-cholesterol antibody, but the other type of cholesterol particles are fixing. So it is very simple to demonstrate it in vitro environment also. So it is joined to the beta hydroxide group of these cholesterol molecules. So when we want to summarize the cholesterol metabolism, we have to mention that there is cholesterol source. The cholesterol source, the most important source of the cholesterol in our body is our production, our anti-cholesterol antibody, and even the cholesterol production, made in 95, even 100%. The people who doesn't eat any animal food, all 100% of cholesterol is produced by himself. And some part, about a 5%, came from the food also. We can utilize it. And I used to mention,
It is totally indifferent if you eat many pigs or not.
Totally
Indifferent.
indifferent. When you can eat, certainly
Or
indifferent. Or eggs. You can eat. It's very, very healthy food. The eggs containing a lot of cholesterol. It's very important to emphasize. Certainly, if you are eating more than necessary for your body, it is very bad. Because you became fat, like me.
Yes.
So, so it's better to eat just as much as you need for the energy supply of your body. Certainly, you have to eat a lot of vitamins, a lot of other things. So it's a very different collection of the food, but not depends on what is the source of this. It's the animal. The birds or pigs or other animal you are eating, fish or others, doesn't matter. You don't eat much more than necessary for your body. It's a basic establishment. So the cholesterol source came from the food very little, about 5%, so it's indifferent. Then about 95% we produce. And we have also a cholesterol source from the died cells, because all the cells in our body contains cholesterol. If the cells are dying on the programmed dying way, apoptotic cells dying, our enzymes can digest all of them, all part of the died cells, but not the cholesterol.
Yes.
This cholesterol can be reutilized by the help of anti-cholesterol antibody. It catch it and bring to the place where a cell which can want to use cholesterol, utilize it. It can be produce a sexual hormone, bile acid, or even a mineralocorticotrope hormone from this. And the production, as I mentioned, the cholesterol utilization
is for bile acids, for sex hormone, for membrane building, because all of our cells which has a membrane contains a little cholesterol. I asked an engineer who was making buildings, do you know how the wall is built from bricks? Oh yes, it's bricks all. And I mentioned for him that is not only bricks, it is not enough. We have to have, oh yes, we have a little malter for this, just a very little. This malter is in our cells, in the cell membrane is the cholesterol. Not too much, but a little necessary if you want to make a good membrane from this. So when the cell die, this cholesterol is liberated, and we can use by this antibody. That is the reason we can say that this anti-cholesterol antibody is a scavenger type antibody, utilizing this cholesterol which was liberated from the apoptotic dye cells, And this cholesterol metabolism can destroyed, and when the cholesterol metabolism was destroyed, and when the physicians realized that became an arteriosclerosis.
Is this the picture?
So when the cholesterol was believed that the cholesterol problem came from the food, at the beginning they produce a drug to treat this problem. So they produce a molecule, resonanceus, which was able to coagulate the cholesterol. So from the food, it was not possible to utilize, and it removes with the faces this cholesterol of the food. And without any results, it was not able to influence at all. And certainly was not good results when they were using the antibiotics against the chlamydias. And nowadays we have such a solution when we can reduce the cholesterol level by the drugs containing statins. A statin is a very good poison against the enzymes. From the squalene, they can produce a cholesterol.
But in a long time, damage to liver.
Yeah, yes,
it is a problem.
It's a dangerous poison for many organs. Some people are not able to move even, so destroy their muscles. Different people, different answer produce in clinical manifestation using these drugs. And it really can reduce the cholesterol level. So it can produce a very good laboratory results, but not health. It doesn't make any problem, doesn't solve any problem which produced by the plaques, which are the atheromes of the wall, of all of the vessels, arterial vessels. And that is the reason that many physicians till now believe that these atheromes can remove only by surgery method, with heart surgery, on vessel surgery, but not by immunological method. And this drug really hardly, very strongly influence the cholesterol production. What is this problem? And when we, and the consequence of this treatment is the less bile acid, less sexual hormone, less membrane, good membrane, less mineralocorticoid hormones, even less receptor stabilization. So if you have a lot of treatment, not only the liver will be destroyed, even the mental problem came a little earlier. The dimension of the age dimension, as we call it, appear earlier. And we say
okay, it produces a very good laboratory results, but not the health. So that is the reason that we say the method what we are using, it is the immunization. It is much better for this aim because we doesn't disturb the cholesterol production. We don't care that the cholesterol level is high. We care with the relation of the LDL and HDL. So we try to change it, lowering the rations, increasing the HDL level, decreasing the LDL level, and utilizing more and more cholesterol in the body. When we can do this, we can utilize the trace cholesterols which came from the died cells. We can utilize more LDL particular, more HDL particular, and if utilizing more, producing more bile acids, producing more sexual hormones, more mineralocorticotrope hormone, utilizing more cholesterol in the new cell production, because our body time to time destroy his cells on apoptotic dying and producing new cells. Even our blood cells, red blood cells, dying after 120 days.
Yes.
So about 3-4 months,
Yes.
our cells are dying. And new cells produce because we always have similar number of the red blood cells when we are healthy. And for these, we have to have cholesterol too. If we have not enough cholesterol, this membrane is not good and the function of the cell is not well done. And because of the sexual hormone production came from this cholesterol which was in the atheromas of the horse. There is a little problematic situation from this because the sexual activity became higher, and the sexual activity is too high for the married man. It could be dangerous if the neighbors, ladies, are interested in, and the wife recognizes that something happened which is not for her happiness, and could be many disorders from this. Certainly it's only a joke, but the mental health could be also recovered using these immunizations. Some experiment what we made on experimental animal, we can declare that the anti-cholesterol antibody has an anti-arteriosclerotic effect, and even we find that it has an embryo protecting effect also. When the animals we was treating with a high cholesterol diet, they have a high cholesterol level, and in this case the babies almost was dying in a artificial fertilization of the animals. And when we made immunization, when we produce a high anti-cholesterol level, these babies was protected. So it has a baby protecting effect. We made an experiment on human sera, certainly not for the human, only on the study of the human sera. And we find that in the healthy people has a much higher anti-cholesterol level than the people who was sclerotic, about 4 times more. So the healthy people has a much higher anti-cholesterol antibody than the people who was sclerotic. Certainly there is a big range of the anti-cholesterol antibody level. It is a very individual. As our body, somebody is tall, more than 2 meters, somebody is just 1.5 meters. It's a big range, and everybody can only compare with himself or herself. And who doesn't have enough anti-cholesterol antibody for his organism has an arteriosclerosis. And we can return it by the immunization. So the conclusion, we have to establish that every human sera, all human sera contains anti-cholesterol antibody, even healthy or sclerotic people. But the healthy people has much more, about 4 times more than the people who is sclerotic. Certainly it is only an average examination was made because it is not possible to compare everybody for himself. It would be better to make, when he was 20 years old, establish the cholesterol level, and when the anti-cholesterol level was established 20 years old, and when this level is lowering and lowering, we have to make immunization, but nobody cared with the anti-cholesterol level when he was 20. And the anti-cholesterol level or anti-cholesterol antibody can catch only the LDL particles, never the HDL. So only the bad cholesterol, and the bad cholesterol made turn to a good cholesterol to utilize it for the cells which is needing cholesterol. And with immunization we can increase the anti-cholesterol level of the body, of the blood, and on the basis we can declare that the normalization can be made by immunization in all body, except the people who is not able to answer, who is immunological passive.
But I think it is a lower percent.
It is very, very, very little percent of the,
yes.
very little percentage of the. So on the basis of our experiment animal studies, and we can now declare that even the results of the people who were volunteers and made immunization on himself, also we can declare have a similar effect as we find previously on experiment and animals, that the immunization can prevent the arteriosclerosis, and not only prevent, even the arteriosclerosis developed, it can be reduced. The plaque can turn back to the other direction, and the road, the tube of the blood can be cleaned by the immunization. So the immunization can reduce the plaques of the arterias.
In Hungary are dying about 50,000 people a year. With your immunization, are you able to protect the people?
I have to suppose, on the basis of the experimental animal and the study of the people who made self-immunization, that yes. My correct answer is yes. We suppose that we can protect in Hungary year by year about 15,000 young people. I have to emphasize, not the old generation.
Protect for urban heart infarct.
They are dying from the circulation disease, a heart attack, brain attack, and dying between 40 and 65 years. So as relatively young people.
It means if it is Hungary 50,000, worldwide there are 1 million people.
Yes.
They are able to protect with your immunization.
Yes, I can say many people, many million of the people in the world can be protected, not the old generation, but these who is really working, and we lose the people who is the best workers, because who is 40 years old, learn everything on his occupation, his specialty, and nowadays the retirement time is 65. So in this generation, it's very, very, very important for us to protect these people, and if we can protect them, we can make a better economy.
After your experience, how long time is able this immunization protect a human being?
You see, after the immunization, it's very difficult to say now it's a correct answer how long it can protect. But if I compare with the other active immunization procedures, I can say several 10 years.
30, 40 years is possible?
Yes, 30, 40 years, I can suppose it. But after 30, 40 years, I can turn back, look back, it was good or not. But nowadays, I have to say years. So it's more economic for the healthcare than the drug we're using for this aim, and more economic for the people who is protect himself, because the people are able to survive. On the other side, they have a better health conditions, a better life quality after the immunization. So what is the future on this field? The main aim is to immunize the people who need it. Turn back the arteriosclerosis who produce it in his youth, because we find people who were 20 years old and became sclerotic and turned back. And
you can say that generally over the age of 40, the arteriosclerosis begins to develop in our organisms. Generally,
I can say yes. Generally, we find about 2/3 of the population is attacked by the arteriosclerosis, and to think about this 2/3, I can imagine even to make immunization on the people who became 40 or 40s, and it would be a good solution to protect them for their life.
And during the immunization, should the patient be disease-free or without fever, or is no interesting?
You see, I used to say the people who are suffering for a disease which has a high fever, it is not the best time to make immunization. Yes. So at the active immunization time, you have to be healthy. When you are healthy, without fever, certainly the circulation disease is not disturbed here, but must be free from a virus or bacterial infection. So without any fever, that time it is good. So high temperature is not good. It is
necessary only one times or more times do this immunization?
You see, it's always, if you want to be correct, I have to mention that we find that one immunization for the people was enough. Certainly, it is not an injection; it is a cure. It was made from nine injections at the beginning, more active. In the first week, 3 injections; on second week 2, and during other 4 weeks only 1 injection, intravenous. So it is not possible to take it and just make an injection for himself, as the insulin doesn't matter where, just put under the skin and it's enough, but it have to inject into the veins. And because the small particle is very active to make agglutination, we have to use a protein solution for this. And which is the best protein solution?
Our
own protein. So it is, we have to have our own sera for this. So just a very little, about 10% to 1 milliliter. It means 0.1 milliliter is enough for this. So at the beginning we take the patient from himself take blood, somebody take it, and wait for the coagulation, make centrifugation. When the sera is ready, sera divide into 9 different syringes, put into the deep freezer, and just take one of them when the time of the injection is coming.
Absolutely simple.
Yeah, it looks much more simple, much more cheap, much more effective, and without any bad side effect in comparison with other drugs, which is dangerous, just short time active, and not really treatment, or I can say it's a treatment but not cure. But this immunization can cure the people.
I became already this immunization, and I have the hopeness that I became never heart attack or high blood pressure.
Hopefully yes. The people who had the immunization had give information that their high blood pressure and their movement is much better. Even their brain activity is much better.
And you can say too that many people they have diabetes, the type 2 became healed.
Yes, I have got information that the people who had two types of diabetic problem became healthy, just without any insulin treatment can survive, can live without problem.
Yes, fantastic.
So
fantastic.
Certainly, who doesn't have diabetes because of closing or narrow arteria pancreatica, but because of a viral infection or a toxicosis killed the pancreas or the insulin producing cells, certainly it is not effective. It is not any influence on it. So it doesn't possible
only
to
by
say
arteriosclerosis
that it treats all the sugar problem, but it can treat the arteriosclerosis, can clean the vessels from the atheromas.
Yes, fantastic.
So we try to get the official quotation for this vaccine, and we have to organize the production to give a possibility for everybody who need it to have the vaccine available for everybody who need it. For this have to produce, I think, many millions of doses of it, and nowadays we can produce it only on laboratory way. I used to make explanation, it's so simple. When you want to produce on laboratory a box of sugar, and you have only the seeds of the sugar flour, so it is not possible. Very expensive on this way. Yes. But if we have a factory for this, much more cheap and much more available.
And your problem is you haven't in momental any accreditation for this medicine.
Yes, we are working on the accreditation. Not only the people who is volunteers, but everybody who need it. The physician can suggest for him to use this immunization, but now it is not available for this way. Only the people who make decision that he want it. Generally, it is not for prevention. Generally, it's for the treatment to cure the people, because it's not only treatment, just a cure. And if the people had got this immunization procedure, doesn't need anymore the dangerous drug, what they have to use day by day. Even it is cheaper than use it,
long time
use it every day for a long period of time, and doesn't
Not so
dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah, doesn't danger for their body.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it is the main aim to eradicate the arteriosclerosis, which is nowadays the most serious, most frequent disease for the people. That is the reason that all 2/3 of the population die because of circulation disease, and mainly it is because of arteriosclerosis. So the vessels, atheromas, which is closing the different vessels and produce bad life quality for the people, and the others dying, as we mentioned previously, about 15,000 in Hungary and many million in the world.
Mr. Professor, thank you for your interview, and would you let me know if there are any new developments in your study?
It's a pleasure for me to give a possibility to appear here in front of the people and inform them about our results and about the hope and the possibility what we have. Just we have to work very seriously on the quotation of the official drug form development.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Professor, thank you for your interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.